Alright, today I'm going over 10 Ubuntu settings you should change right now. So with any operating system, out of the box, there's some default settings that actually do more harm than good. So on Ubuntu specifically, I'm going to go over those default settings and what you should change them to. But without further ado, let's get right into this. Alright, so now number 10 on this list is under Settings, Privacy, Diagnostics. And the setting is Send Error Reports to Canonical. By default, it's on automatic. However, you should actually change this to never, because hey, after all, this is Linux, and I value my privacy, and so should you. The thing is, with any operating system, you don't really want it reporting data about how you're using it. Now, this looks like it's just very minimal. It says reports are sent anonymously and are scrubbed of personal data. However, I just like to play it safe and leave it to never. I always say that this helps them improve the operating system, but I don't really ever trust that. Okay, so now number 9 on this list, while we're in the privacy section, is under Settings, Privacy, Screen Lock, and the setting is Blank Screen Delay. By default, this is set at 5 minutes. However, I'd actually change it to 1 minute just for the most security. So that way, if you forget to lock your computer, it'll just lock after 1 minute rather than waiting 5 minutes. The shorter this is, the more secure. However, if you find that the 1 minute setting is too short for you, you can always bump it up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so on. Like, in the end, it's really just a preference. Okay, so now number 8 on this list, still in the privacy section, is Settings, Privacy, File History and Trash and Temporary Files, and the setting is Automatically Delete Temporary Files. By default, both Automatically Delete Trash Content and Automatically Delete Temporary Files are off. I'd recommend Automatically Delete Trash Content, just stay off, just in case you put something important in the trash, you don't want it automatically just deleting it. However, I'd actually automatically delete the temporary files after 30 days, just because you don't want these things building up and hogging up drive space that would otherwise be free. So that way they're not automatically deleted by the application that stored them, they also just automatically delete after 30 days. However, if you'd like and you really want to preserve disk space, you can set it to like 14 days, 7 days, 6 days, 1 day, or even 1 hour if you really want to preserve disk space. Again, this is really just a preference, and also it depends on how much free disk space you have. Alright, so number 7 on this list, while we're still in the File History and Trash menu, we're going to go to File History, and the setting we want is File History. By default, this is on. However, I actually like to turn it off, just because I really don't like the history. It's really just a preference. And then after you turn that off, you might just want to clear history. And again, it's really purely a preference. Okay, so now number 6 on this list is Settings, Date and Time, and the setting we want is Time Format. By default, on Ubuntu, this is 24-hour, which I don't know why. However, I like to change it to AM/PM because I find that it's easier to read. I think most people will agree with me on that. However, if you're used to the 24-hour time, you can, by all means, keep it on that. Again, it's really just a preference. Alright, so now number 5 on this list is under Settings, Mouse and Touchpad, and the setting we want is Tap to Click. And it really only matters if you're using a laptop. If you're on a desktop, this really will do nothing for you. But the default setting for this is on. However, since I'm on a laptop, I actually like to turn it off because I find that the tap to click feature will get accidentally triggered and then I accidentally click on something. And I'm used to actually force clicking on stuff. So I find that it just does more harm than good. Like, you accidentally click on a web page that you don't want to go to. Like, you know what I mean. And you may find that tap to click is causing you issues. If that's the case, you can just turn it off. However, if you're used to it being on, by all means, leave it on. Again, it's really just a preference. Alright, so number 4 on this list is under Settings, Screen Display, Nightlight. By default, this is off. However, I like to turn it on and then set it to sunset to sunrise because I find that if I'm using my computer before I go to bed, I find that it's much easier on the eyes to have the screen shifted to more warmer colors. But then, like, during the day, just have it normal. And this setting can actually really help your sleep. If you find that you're having sleepless nights when you use your computer before you go to bed, you can turn this on, and this will probably make a difference. And it can take a little while to get used to, but like once you get used to it, after sunset, try going back to the old way with nightlight turned off, and then you'll quickly realize, what the heck? How was I looking at the normal color scheme at night? Especially if you're in the dark. And also, one closely related setting, you may also want to try turning down the brightness based on the light in the room. So if it's a really dark setting, you might want to turn it down all the way. Or if like you're in a normally lit room, you may want to have it on the lower level. Or if you're outside, then you may want to turn it up all the way. It'll take a little while to get used to, but you'll get used to it. So now number 3 on this list is under Software and Updates. In my desktop environment's application menu, it's called Software Sources. But anyway, once you're in that application, you're going to go to updates. And then the settings you want are when there are security updates and when there are other updates. I recommend just changing these both to display immediately, so that way you're notified of any updates that come up. But of course you can choose to install them. However, you don't really want it automatically downloading updates. And for this, you want it notifying you when these updates come out, but you don't want to necessarily download or install all of them right away. Alright, so now number 2, you will need to actually download an extra program, but no worries, it's available from Ubuntu software. Just search for it, hit install, and then you're good to go. But anyway, the application is called GNOME Tweaks, or simply Tweaks as it is in my menu. You're going to go in there, and then you're going to go to keyboard and mouse, and then the setting you want is mouse click emulation. By default, this is set to fingers for whatever reason. So it's kind of like Mac OS, where if you click on the touchpad with 2 fingers, it's basically the same as right clicking. However, especially if you're coming from Windows, you're probably used to Area, where if you click on the right of the touchpad, then it'll bring up that contacts menu. And by the way, this won't help if you're on a desktop. This is just because I'm on a laptop. And besides, if you're used to the Mac OS way of 2-finger clicking and you don't want to change, by all means, just keep it on fingers. Again, it's really just a preference. Alright, so number 1 on this list is encryption, and this is the most complicated to enable. You can learn how to enable that in the video that I'll link up in the card, and also down in the description. The reason why this is important, especially if you're on a laptop which can easily be stolen, is because if you enable this, someone can't just walk off with your computer or just your drive, automatically have access to all your data. Because your data is valuable information that you want to keep out of thieves' hands. It's a bit complicated at first, but if you watch that video that I have linked up in the card and the description, it's explained really well, and it won't be too hard for you to follow. And best of all, it's a set it and forget it thing, where it's once you set it up, you don't have to worry about it. You can log into your account, do everything with your data as if it was unencrypted, so you don't even notice it. But if someone were to actually walk off with your drive, they can't actually get access to your data. And the encryption program has built-in safeguards to ensure that the data is being properly decrypted. I'm not going to go in depth as to what these safeguards are, otherwise this video would be unnecessarily long. But anyway, that is my list of 10 Ubuntu settings that you should change right now. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video, found it was helpful, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment.